Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. And as you can barely see me, but you may be able to see on the screen, we're going to take a look at a short look at Mothership, the sci fi horror RPG, and a recently released supplement to said sci-fi horror RPG known as Dive. Fridays, classically and today, are reserved for um, modern day, near future, far future science fiction storytelling and its relationship to the tabletop RPG community, as well as sometimes, mixing, matching, and even coming up with using our own fantasy, common fantasy tropes and game systems and using them in a modern to science fiction setting. So, good morning, everyone. Those who are able to participate in the show live on Twitch or YouTube are our co-hosts because I'm not the smartest, I'm not the sharpest pencil in the tool system here. So I kind of need you guys to help me out so that we can make the show even better and even come up with ideas because for the most part we don't have any scripts. We just do this seat of our pants, and I actually prefer it that way. So good morning there, John Wright, Juden Fuzz, and everyone else. So allow me to introduce you. If you've never seen Mothership, we're going to do this very quickly. It is a it is considered a role playing game zine and has garnered lots of attention. It began in a like a zine format. Zine formats are like a small booklet sized, maybe no more than like maybe 10 pages to maybe 30 or 40 pages long, and usually something very simple to come up with, and very often, more often than not, these are put together by one individual. I'm not sure exactly how many people put this together, but a lot of these are very small indie style games. And even the name Mothership kind of brings to mind like these derelict spaceships and things of that nature in science fiction that we often see. Usually, a crew, a haphazardly thrown together crew of participants in some kind of horror style theme. We know Alien and Aliens are is like the epitome of said scenarios, and really embraces that for this. So, of course, we have our cover page, and then to our left here, this is the weapons section, and it is the interior cover of the book. So, if you get the physical cover of the book, it's right there, easy to find. You may not understand it immediately, but it's if you need it, go to it, bring it together. It's been garnered a lot of attention by the method in which it was laid out and how the information is presented, and giving it to you very easily and skillfully. So it's got a very bold style layout, really cool. And then on the right side, even though you kind of have to turn it sideways, we have an example character. And on the character sheet, even though it may look a bit busy, the character sheet actually tells you how to make the character, tells you the die rolls, the choices. Everything is built into the character sheet, which is kind of cool. This is a percentile system. You do roll 60-10 for each of your stats, and you add those numbers together, and then you come up with a statistic between um, 6 and 60 for a percentile dice, and you must roll that or below. There are, of course, hit points and things like that, but there's also sanity and fear and panic and stress is important in the game because you got to have that. If you're going to have horror, you have to have that. So finishing touches. There's actually something really cool about the character creation part. I'll get to it in a minute. It talks about rolling the dice. It's a D10 system. It's not. It's not a die 10. It's a combination of a die 10 dice pool, percentile system, and then using D10 for damages and things of that nature. It does use advantage and disadvantage. That seems to be what's it called, lingua franca. Anyway, we all know now in the tabletop RPG community what advantage and disadvantage is, and so basically we all know you roll whatever dice you need twice, and you need to take the highest, the most appropriate beneficial for you if it's advantage, and most detrimental if it's disadvantage. And in this game, you want to roll high. Um, wait, it depends on what you roll. I said the wrong thing. It depends on what you roll. Uh, stat checks, critical hits and failures, and I want to get to some of the skills. Even they even have a skill tree that is printed on the character sheet, and it gives you the arrows. Like, let's see right here. If I can't really highlight it too much. Nah, you won't be able to see it. But anyway, so we have right here scavenging, and then there's an arrow to jury rigging, and then it goes to cybernetics. But you can also get to jury rigging if you follow an arrow down here to mechanical repair. So both scavenging and mechanical repair, if you follow the arrow, can get you to jury rigging, and which can get you to learning the skill in cybernetics. So pretty interesting. It looks a little complicated, but it isn't. We do have saves. There are four types of saves. There's a sanity, fear, body, and armor saves, and they work like classic saving throws. Um, Whenever you have to roll a check, you have crisis checks. You need to keep track of your food and water. Well, you don't need to, but they suggest that you do. Oxygen, how to earn credits, hit locations. Mm-mm. We're going to go through this because really what I want to do is get into dive. Some people don't prefer this as an art type, but I like I'm as I've gotten older, I've started to really like a splatterpunk style art style, like sketchy or um, um, what's another version of it? Filtered, blurry, um, watercolor esque style look. I think if I can explain why I personally like this style and why some people gravitate towards it, I think that these kind of art styles where they're a little bit indistinct allows our brains to fill in the missing gaps so that there becomes a similar but not exact visual play environment so that we start to picture weaponry and armor and situations just a little bit different at each table. Mike says the first Alien, Event Horizon, Black Hole, Saturn 359, Green Slime, and several uh um TOS. Oh man, not the next generation. Anyway, Star Trek shows have this vibe. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a style of artwork called trash polka that's very similar. Trash polka. I've never heard it described like that, but that's a trash polka. Um, Makes me think of trash pandas, like raccoon. But yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly it, right? Like taking a look at this back suits, standard gear, things of that way. We've got equipment, and this is very. It uses the, I'll say, like OSR style gaming, not rule set, gaming philosophy. So, for example, it doesn't go very deeply into describing what gear does or character abilities or for equipment. You just have equipment slots. Like it's designed so that it has a very minimalist method of keeping track of things and describing environments and such npcs so that we get to fill in the blanks. And it's got a pretty, I mean, the rule system is pretty simple. I mean, other than not using like a d20, use a percentile system, which technically the d20 is a 5% tile system. It's the same thing. Mm-mm-mm. Trinkets. Um, mm-mm-mm. Now, these tables, it's for some reason I think this is kind of cool. So we've seen trinket tables before that fill in the gaps when Dungeons and Dragons Fifth Edition has trinket tables. Third party publishers have created trinket tables for their settings or their rules modifications, where it's just a little bit of a, it's just a little add on the left side tables, a D100 table to say, hey, what's in your pockets? And then you start to just create a story around it, or maybe you would hope that your storyteller, your dungeon master, your game master, whoever flame tender pulled that one out, would pick that up and throw that into a story. But on the right side, we have D100 patches, and that's kind of cool. Like on your jumpsuit, there's like little patches you can have on your jumpsuit, and I find that kind of cool. Like to have like, why is this patch on your jumpsuit when you're with these intrepid space travelers or something? Like I don't know. Uh, Guys, give me a number from 1 to 100. I don't care what it is. The art reminds me a bit of the Tank Girl and Lobo comic books. It does remind me of Tank Girl. The original series. Thank you, TOS. I was like, next generation? What? And my mind got stuck there. Yes. The original series for Star Trek. 36 and yeah, J Dub 69. Okay. Let's see what you guys have. So 30. Let's go on both tables. Yeah, 36 and 69. So on both tables, for 36, for trinkets, we have Smut, Sedidious, the captain ordered. It must be a seditious. So it says Smut and then in parentheses seditious, and underneath the captain, comma, ordered. It must be a book, like a smut style book. So you could describe this as anything, and it says seditious. So maybe it's a book that's been destroyed because it undermines a captain's authority or something like that. And with the other trinket at 69, we have a manual called Moonshining with Gun Oil and Fuel. Slurp up. All right, and then for your patches, we have for 36, Cowboy Up with crossed revolvers. It says Cowboy Up. And then the other patch just has Loner. Okay. And now, does the patch actually have to do with your personality? Maybe it's a little hint for what your personality really is, or maybe your player character is the opposite of what your patch says because maybe it belonged to somebody else, or maybe you're trying to live up to it or something. So yeah, cowboy up sounds like, it's the proverbial be a man up, stop being a coward. And of course 69, the loner, it's like all you do is just grunt and I'm off by myself. But it would be interesting if the patches are your opposite. Okay, so we have things for hiring mercenaries because in OSR you have retainers and hirelings. Talk about mercenaries, tells you what kind of mercenaries there are, some of their skills, and if you want to, there's a little PDF/ photocopy thing. You can write down a bunch of the mercenaries that you have. Basically, cannon fodder. Especially if you're going to do horror, you got to have some nameless people or a holes that are like knocked off one by one, and then the player characters can go, "Ooh, how'd that person die?" And should I wear my brown pants or yellow pants for this one? Right. And then there's on the left screen, there's some details about the type of personality for the mercenaries. So you have a roll. What is it? Is it D10 roll? Yep, D10. Um, Description. Give me a 1 to 10, or if you can see something that you want to point out, give me one of those. June says, "Does one have to roll, or can those be picked?" I personally, uh, like, I like those prompts. I'd probably let you pick them, and I would even suggest, like, at the end of an adventure, like maybe you get another patch or something to kind of symbolize how many adventures you've survived through, almost like a level identifier, maybe, or something like that. Yeah, I would do that. I would definitely do that. Mm-mm-mm. There's even little motivations and things. There's a D100 table. So you like if you roll on a motivations, you roll D100 and like from 0 to 49, you roll a D10 on this part of the table. This is on the right side of the screen. And then if you roll 50 to 80 on percentile, then you have another D10 table. And then if you roll 81 to 99, another D10 table. And this percentile system is 0 to 99, not 1 to 100. I know that sounds odd, but it's not odd. It's just depending on the game system. I've seen game systems like Eclipse Phase, which uses 0 to 99 instead of 1 to 100. Double aughts are usually a either extremely good thing or a bad thing. Let's get to the chat. Rolled a D10. We rolled a 5. Mike says, I don't need a-holes. I have porn a cowboy hat. I'm my own a-hole. Yeah. And you know what? That's a classic trope in sci-fi too, right? Like everybody, everyone has something they rolled like or picked or that makes them they have a trait or something like that. The preening, the preening pseudo intellectual. You have met you have met their kind on every habitable planet. You will most likely encounter them in hell. This ignoramus seamlessly integrates a complete lack of self-awareness and a tact with a total paucity of knowledge. This results in tantrums, evasions, compulsive lying, and attempts to micromanage others. And then they have a mechanical skill. Intellect saves have disadvantage when the preening pseudo intellectual is around. They argue in bad faith, making it difficult to accomplish anything. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Wow. So there are when you play this game, one of the things that complicates the world that you're playing in is that your player character choice has creates disadvantages for others around you. So, for example, if you play like, because there's stress and you want to alleviate stress, and when your stress gets high enough, you start to panic, and then there's panic effects. And based on your character class type, you cause other people to have to make rolls when you panic or when something happens or you're involved in a thing and you fail a roll. It has effects on other people in the game. It has an interesting and it's a circular method. Maybe I don't want to go too hard into it, but essentially, like if you're a combat, if you play uh, like the mercenary, the combat one, other people will panic around you because you're the person holding the weapon who's swinging it around. Whereas if you play an intellectual character, other people will panic when start to get stressed out and panic when you fail mechanical checks and things like that. So it's an interesting system because it's Call of Cthulhu, but kind of caused because of the inward workings and such, and it's a mechanical way to describe like individuals whose personalities keep rubbing against each other, even if you're not role playing it that way. There's a method for they have a method for creating uh, space stations and ships, and this is making command decks and things like that. So yeah, there's you roll a couple of dice, you start building your uh, spaceship or habitat out from a central location, and that's it. And it talks about combat orders, ship combat. I'm going through this very quickly because we are going to get into dive. And then here's Mothership primary modules, and here are to the left. It basically walks you through exactly what you need to do to make a mothership or a space hab, and it gives you plenty of tables to modify things. And then on the right side, you have your your sheet that you use. And if you're really good, you could actually do this on the fly, but you don't have to. And then, of course, here is the what some would say is the award-winning character sheet. It's a two-page layout, so with of course split down the middle. So the entire character sheet tells you what to do. So it goes number one, roll 60-10 for each of your stats, and then you roll for each of those, and then it gives you arrows in which direction. So I'm using my cursor to move around the strength stat. So there's a line, and if you leave from your strength stat, it goes up to max health, and it tells you times two, and it has a max health and then current, and then from there you go. Well, where's number two? Okay, pick a class and note their starting saves, and you go through all those numbers and such, and then you either pick a teamster, android, scientist, or a marine, and it gives you your base some of your base statistics, so on and so forth. You follow the lines, you move around and stuff like it was given high praise when this came out. You have your skills, told you about that. Um, this is a cheat sheet. So if you want to know all the rules, you're like, what do I roll again? Is it 2d10 and add them together? Is it percentile? What do I roll? And it tells you stat check, saves, critical hits and failures, what happens with stress and panic, weapon ranges, simplified ranges, of course, short, medium, long range, that kind of thing, combat order, and you can just print that out or send it to everybody. And this is the entire game. All right. Boom, boom. Gonna go over to dive. Ooh. Hey, Mike, have a great one. Got it snowed in. Ooh, ooh. Oh, we don't have that. Yeah, Druden Fun. We dive in a dive? Hell yeah. Mike, have a great one. J Dub says if you print out the character sheets, they're a bit toner ink intensive. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are of a certain age, but I remember back in the day, man. Like if you were before people found out about it, if you were a role player and you worked anywhere near an inkjet printer, you were given like high praise because you could print out character sheets and photocopy stuff in a moment's notice and nobody noticed. Now, ink is its own. Ink is like mobster organized crime level expensive, right? Like there's people who have hacks for ink, all that kind of stuff. It's crazy. Okay, so if Mothership dealt with science fiction, Dive is literally about oceanic, coastal, anything aquatic or moist related. Moist, moist sounds like what it is. Think about that for a minute. So here we have Dive. This is available for PDF, and th- to me, like unlike Mothership, because Mothership space travel, we've seen this Event Horizon, Alien and Aliens. What's another one? Sphere was another one. There's a number of these horror style spaceship crash landing, maybe type of scenarios and such. Really cool, but it means that you automatically have to have some kind of science fiction background in order to engage in the game. Not a difficult proposition, but some people don't like science fiction. Whereas in Dive, you could actually play this in modern day. Like 10 minutes from now, you're on a cruise ship or you're on an oil rig or something was discovered in the ocean that's sending out a signal, and a government organization has assembled a team to send you down there. Maybe you're vacationers or um, private individuals who are like, hey, let's just go scuba diving or something like that, right? There's so many. To me, just the simple name of dive brings up a lot of scenarios in a modern day context that come to mind, I think, a bit quicker, and it's kind of easier to wrap around myself as a theme than maybe science fiction for some people who aren't as geeky as the rest of us. Again, this is goes alongside Mothership, so I would suggest buying Mothership before Dive, but it does play on its own, right? Like here's the character sheet, and it pretty much explains self-explanatory as it goes through all of its details that you need, including circling class, which is kind of middle top in the screen, where you can be an engineer, a researcher, sailor, or consultant. So no, there's no alien or species. There's no androids involved in this, but it does tell you exactly what your adjustments are when you pick them. And then there's trauma responses for each. Let me I'm going to expand this out here and move over. When I was talking about the character, your the type of class you pick affects everybody else around you. So, for example, under engineer, it says for trauma response, PCs receive disadvantage on panic checks if the engineer has panicked this session. So it's like if the engineer, the smart one, is just like, yeah, we're running out of oxygen, and they start to panic, that everybody else has disadvantage on their panic checks. And I could see this playing out at the table. Like if the engineer is about to if there's some way to help the engineer not panic, it helps everybody else out. We let's help the engineer, die wise or even role playing wise. If you're a researcher for their trauma response, researchers automatically pass their first panic check each session. So maybe we want the researcher to delve into something before we get anybody else poking and prodding with something, which is a good way of explaining in a lot of these horror sessions, like how come the person least able to deal with danger goes first. Well, this is kind of it's a role-playing thing, part of it. It goes into the trope. Last two for the sailor. Sailors may defer panicking by taking -5 to their next panic check and a +5 to the next panic table result. So a sailor can um, mitigate their panic by making it worse later on, which is pretty funny. And then for the consultant, all other PCs gain 1d5 stress when a consultant panics. So when the consultant panics, everyone's just like, "Oh my, why do they have to be here?" Right? But it starts to rank up the chances that you're going to start to panic. Their stress levels start. Everybody else's stress level gets higher because the consultant is there, and we've seen this in plenty of thematic things like Alien or something where the consultant is not bonded with the group, but the consultant has to be there, and everyone's like rolls their eyes, but they know that the consultant's actions and reactions are making it worse for everyone else. uh Talked about being moist. Sorry about that. So Zamar says, quick, what is the difference between underwater and outer space? Underwater, you will be crushed to death. Outer space, you will expand to death. Yeah, there's rules on that as well. Raw DM says, I just wish the rule book had NPC stats to help a bit. Otherwise, I think it's a great system. That's the trade-off for like these indie games. Like the more you stack in it, the less it feels indie, and um, more a complete system, if that makes sense. It's kind of weird. Of course, powered by the Panic engine from Mothership. And let's go through it. Pretty vivid yellow and black. Although I have to say, maybe it comes across as one of these like warning manuals or something. On the left is a quote by Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And then let's read this out because, Dive has a I like this for games when it tells you what to expect from the game, and then we find out in the rules whether it meets up to its expectations. So I like that. So Dive is a tool set created to play scenarios reminiscent of Jaws, Deep Blue Sea, and The Abyss. I forgot about Deep Blue Sea. And other aquatic horrors. While Mothership deals with the hardships of life in space, Dive PCs contend with the many struggles of life on, under, and near the ocean. Inside these pages are alternate classes, rules for dealing with depth and pressure, an alternate panic table for when PCs are scuba diving, an updated skill list, new equipment, alternate trinkets, and tattoos instead of patches on your uniform, and tools to help wardens navigate their aquatic nightmares. I think the tattoo idea is fun. And as you can see, I'm doing a 2-page layout to show off thing against. Um, Unlike Mothership, I think this is a little bit more static artwork, but it's a little splattered, little sketchy, and I like that. I actually like that. So talk about the consultant, the skill tree, trained expert and master, and the skills that are associated with them, where you're able to get to those skills. Again, the weapons table that just gives you pictures of the weapons and some of the statistics for them. And next to that is the diving apparatus. You're talking about deep space, difference between deep space and underwater. 30 minutes per tank is a thing. I've heard and I haven't read yet, but I've heard when you see something like it gives you an actual number of minutes, that this is an in world, no, I'm sorry, this is an out world timer for in world pressure. So as you're playing the game and you get 30 minutes into your game session, that your tank runs out, much like we've seen this in OSR indie games where they'll say something like a torch lasts an hour, and it's an hour of real time while you're playing the game, and it's just it's supposed to elicit tension by using a real world out of the game timer to make things in the game have more pressure. It pushes the PCs along faster, right? If they keep sitting in one room for half an hour talking about how they're going to get through a door, boom, one of their air tanks goes out, right? It's 30 minutes. It gets them like, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. So a little bit of a pressure thing there. Here's some equipment. And when you talk about minimal, here's a list of equipment. Here's some pictures of equipment. And we kind of can agree on what a thing does, right? Like we know what rope is versus a signaling mirror versus undersea welder, and that kind of stuff. Trinkets and tattoos, hugely difficult to see, I'm sure, with this as I have it here. I would have liked, I think under, and I know this would be harder for layout. I've seen long tables where they're split with like every 5 or every 10 is like a different color, maybe like black to yellow, yellow to black they could have used, or lines to separate it. But it's not a big deal. But we've seen that kind of layout done before. And I'm online. I'm doing a live stream, so I'm sure it's difficult for you guys to see it. But give me some give me something from like 1 to 100 while I get back into the chat. Um, mm, 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 mm. All right. So co-hosts say, uh, I think it's coming across like a warning manual is the point based on the font choice. I absolutely agree with that. It does feel like with the bright yellow and black, it feels like one of those maybe an in-world thing trapped behind a seat, or like stuck to a wall, like an adhesive stuck to a wall where you have to like rip the plastic off and like open up the book, or like it's a spiral notebook stuck under a under some kind of a dashboard or something. Yeah, it definitely feels like that. Mm, mm, mm. Zavar says, I will actually steal that for my system. I'll be writing that is an optional rule. Thank you, DBJ. What rule did huh? Oh, the timer rule, I guess. John writes, do they take decompression time into account to avoid the bends? Yes, it's actually in here. Um, Roka says, I noticed how much Mothership's authors are into the deep ocean theme. Gradient Descent was in space, but had diving terminology all over it. And we got a number 14. So, and you guys can throw in numbers whenever you feel like it. So for trinkets under number 14, we have cracked glass eye. So could that be a real eye, like someone who has a eye patch and they have a cracked glass eye, or maybe that's something else? You can make it anything you want. And then a tattoo is of fish and pig. Hmm, maybe that's somebody who loves fishing and loves their barbecue, or maybe that has says something about their personality. They love swimming, and maybe they're a little bit ornery. I don't know. It's kind of fun. Tattoos. I like that. I like the idea of tattoos. Like some you meet your the PCs are there, and the game starts out like in media res, and they all it's like the abyss. There's a big deep sea, I don't know, oil rig, and everyone's taking off their scuba gear, and you get to read everyone's tattoos. And it's a great way, it's a great, simple, what's your personality or background type, right? And then, and even if it's wrong, it's still cool to like misinterpret other people's personalities. And that would be kind of cool. All right, so here we get into diving, and I'll get back to you, co-host, in just a moment. But here we get into the diving section, and details about diving, like in real bold letters. This section is not meant to be a guide on real life scuba diving, drowning, or any other real life situation. It's a shame that we even have to put things like that in here, but yes, it very much feels like a diving manual, but it does give some details. Like we have random danger table. How do you do swimming tests for this game? Water temperature over here, talking about like the real world. Um, the real world measurements we have in our society, and then below that, how do you handle drowning? And so, how do you handle drowning in this game? Like most people can hold their breath for 1 to 2 minutes, and as soon as they start breathing water, br- and I know it sounds awkward, but as soon as they start breathing water, they begin drowning. For our purposes, all PCs can hold their breath for 2 minutes and begin drowning 1 minute after that. If a PC does not receive successful resuscitation within 10 minutes of drowning, they are dead. And that's a very OSR thing, right? Like, yeah, there's no below zero death saves. Like, no, 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 no. You start drowning, you're dead. Which, to be honest with you, 1 minute in game terms is actually a long time to a certain extent. So there's always the idea of like a PC has to stop doing one thing to help another PC, and I like complicating things like that. We have a diving panic table, and it said earlier like there's alternate rules. So instead of space panicking, there are things here like panicked swimming or giddiness, slowed reactions, hyperventilating, loss of control of buoyancy, rapid ascent, attacking your rescuer, vertigo, and remove equipment. And start pulling all of your gear off, no matter what depth. I like that. I like that a lot. It's like, stop fighting me. And they're starting to panic and they start attacking you. And it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. So let's get into submarines. They have a couple examples of submarines and equipment. Um, yep, yep, yep. And some details on like what are their capabilities, how much crew, how many armor points and hull. You got to have some submarines, little tiny ones to some larger ones. Got some boats here, some great names for them, and of course you can modify these absolutely positively, rename, reskin. If you're in off the coast, if you're in the Mediterranean, they're going to have different names at your coast of Italy versus the coast of Florida and Miami in the United States or something. um, Although you don't necessarily need to be on Earth, but I think this plays better on Earth because you could literally just Google boats and locations and things like that, right? And even get some real life photographs of like locations hit by storms or uh, in the cruising industry, when the cruising industry had to shut down, a lot of them gave up their ships for scrap. So you can go to like scrap yards or cargo ship areas or vacation spots and things. Here's a sea based generator. It's a two-page spread, but when you roll some dice on the side. So on the very left, you got a dice guide down 1 to 10, but you just can read them across. Like, is the sea base, what depth is it? Is it floating on the surface or attached to somehow surface? How deep is it? What kind of construction is it? Like, is it floating with surface support or is it a modified cave or maybe excavated into the bottom? What size in square meters? What kind of purpose is it? Is it for oil, agriculture, research, aquaculture, like maybe farming of fish or kelp or something like that, manufacturing? It's known for hotels and casinos or drug dens or libraries, which means, for example, let's say it was a research center, but now it's known for hotels and casinos. Maybe it used to be a research center, or it's a research center, but maybe some small company or something decided to build some hotels and casinos nearby or over top of it or connected to it or something. I don't know, whatever you want. You can come up with it. It could be a spark of creativity, or you might just want to re-roll, or again, you could pick and choose whatever you want. No one can tell you what to do with your own game, right? We've got some names, Deep One or Oceans Vista or Drill Corp. Drill Corp Sea Base number 1024, right? What kind of conflict is going on there? Some defenses it may have, like automated turrets or a fleet of armed subs. There's some rumors, like maybe the base is haunted, or a huge drug dealer is on board, or a cult has infiltrated the base. And then the location: Gulf of Mexico, North Sea, South Pacific, Bermuda Triangle, Sea of Japan, Mediterranean Sea, etc. I love these type of tables because my ass wouldn't be able to be creative on the fly with something like that. I'd be like, I live in the United States. I'm in Ohio, so it's the Great Lakes somewhere, Lake Huron or Lake Michigan, and that's it. Different types of sharks. You got to have a bestiary. Uh, things with teeth. I love this little swampy thing. I appreciate them acknowledging other aquatic locations. It's not all deep sea. So, Gotta have alligators, tentacles. Gotta hey, listen, you gotta have tentacles, even if it's the kind of thing that turns you on. Giant octopus, squids, venomous creatures, sea monsters. You gotta have yourself some slightly anthropomorphized sea monsters. Maybe there's some weird intelligence behind their eyes, and you gotta have the great old one, Cthulhu, Yog Sothoth, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's the end here, and that's it. So let's go back to the beginning and very small but tight and compact gaming supplement used alongside Mothership. If you wish, if you already know Mothership like the back of your hand, you could just pick this up by itself. But I would suggest picking up both of them. I think this was $10 for a PDF. I would love to see this in print, but that requires another different skill set to do that. But yeah, all right. For so co-host, what do you have to say? Ross says, great. Too much leniency ingrains carelessness into players. Let them lose a character or two. I say, you know what? That's a side note. That's another big thing that's creeping, not creeping, being taught from the OSR to the greater role playing community is like player funnels, multiple characters, don't get attached. Um, this thing where it's like, hey, this game you're almost guaranteed to lose a character. So you're going to need like three or four. And it lends itself easily to horror because, like, why wouldn't you just like have, especially if you roll a character that's a cliff jumper? We used to call them cliff jumpers. Like, you roll a character that's so bad that they might as well not even adventure. And man, we would just let loose with cliff jumpers, man. We would just like, the cliff jumper goes first. The jumper makes the worst choice possible in the adventure, and we just make, we personality wise, we give them the a-hole treatment, right? They're abusive, they foul language, they don't care, they're disrespectful, they are obnoxious and careless and overconfident. And we used to just use cliff jumpers back to back to back until we found games that allowed more survivability at the beginning. But yeah, we used to do that all the time. So anyway, but thank you there, Roka. Zamar says, I agree. Let the skilled DMs figure out how to save a PC after they have figured out when is the best time to save a PC. Right. Like, now, if you're skilled enough as like a DM or a GM or something, there are ways to, dare I say, fudge the narrative to save a PC. I'm looking at you, the Abyss, since we're talking about aquatic adventures where the PC goes jumping off of a deep cliff into the Marianas Trench, and you don't know what to do with what the fact that they basically jump to their death, and you go, well, you wake up in a air-filled void with your life saved. Um, Scratching chin. Let me go to the bathroom, guys. I'll be right back while you go in there and start writing down some extra notes because you didn't think a PC would literally, you know, jump off a cliff to a 6 mile depth or longer, right? So there's lots of I look at you, Star Wars, where the Wampa knocks out Luke Skywalker instead of killing him, like freezes his feet up into the ceiling. I mean, there are ways to save PCs in the narrative to keep the game going without just murder killing them. But I'm I'm with Roka. Yeah, knock a couple of them off. Let them know exactly what's headed towards them, and then let them figure it out. The movie Alien and the aliens with the face huggers. We all know what was going to happen after that, right? And to let them see that. Zamar says, I love the way they design the table. It allows multiple roles, or the same role can decide multiple things with easy cross-referencing. So let me go back to what you mentioned here. And I use the term compound tabling. Um, Sorry about your eyes here, guys. Sorry about the eyes, guys. So here's the C-base generator. Um, and this I want to incorporate this and show this to you for the little world building challenges that we have. This is all of this is a easy way to give the people, if you want to sell or you're giving this away and you want people to use your product, all of this is fluff. All of this is everything that's built around your world, right? This is just these are bullet points, tiny little bullet points 1 to 5 word sentences, maybe three on average, that describes your world in a table that can be randomly adjudicated. Like if I gave this table to someone who didn't know what this game was about, and I showed them this 2 page layout and had them roll some dice, they would know exactly what this game is about. This is all fluff. This is all setting material, right? Oh, sea base generator. What is this game about? Oh, it's 500 meters down. It's crawling. The sea base is bottom crawling, so it's crawling across the bottom. It's a 13,000 square meter size. It's for agriculture. It's known for its drug dens. The name of it is called the Marlin. The leader has suddenly started acting extremely erratic. It has underwater torpedo towers. I don't know. Maybe there are stationary, but the thing walks around. There's a rumor that the base is actually run by advanced fish people, and the location is in the Arctic Sea, right? Like boom, 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 boom. You've got an adventure now, right? And you just start to fill in the blanks. Hell, you could roll this up, give it to the players the first 5 minutes of the game. They start to say, "Oh, well, what kind of equipment are we going to have? What are we going to do?" Blah blah blah. And as you start reading in your head, like, okay, it's known for being advanced fish people. Advanced fish people. Is that going to be true or not? You're sitting there like, eating your snacks or whatever. Like, oh man, I didn't expect them to do that. And you go into the thing. So that's all fluff. That's all. Yeah, yeah. I love compound tables, and if you want to easily reference your game setting in the simplest way possible, do this. Just pick a number between like 1 to 10, go down one side, and then go across and start to subdivide your world. The people, the locations, maybe some weather, maybe some rumors. And I love rumors or posits, unknowns, assumptions, because rumors don't have to be true. Rumors are like, well, people think that it is said that some posit, others believe, right? Always adds a random thing in it. Is it true there's a drug dealer down there? Maybe not. Maybe that's just a rumor someone made up. Are there really advanced fish people, or is this an experimental lab doing something with sharks or whatever, right? Dead Man says the only difference between submarines and spaceships is submarines have to hold water out, spaceships have to hold air in. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Roll's like, awesome. Samara's like, shug off on the roof, tentacles. Listen to it. It's great. Huh? Is that a real thing? Is that a real song title? Such? I'm gonna look that up. Rawl says, "I'm buying this one. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's short and compact, which I like. And one of the difficult things for game design is to not include a thing that doesn't need to be there, right? Like it. I for me, I could have quadrupled this table um left to right, like start adding in things like npcs, vehicles, interior conditions, um local flora and fauna, like is it covered in weeds, has it been excavated, is there coral reefs there? Like you could keep on going on and on and on, but you slice off what you don't need, you fill it up in a 2 page spread, and you're done, right? Rawls says, that's why I like systems with fast character creation and use character templates in GURPS. GURPS needs templates. J Dub says, I could see other aquatic hazards such as acids or alkalines or other chemical contaminations. Shit, most of that stuff we've done ourselves due to leaking tanks, etc., or too hot or cold due to nearby heat exchangers, cooling systems. It's a D10 system, so in real life, you could just start naming like, oh, aquatic hazards, like you said. What's the underwater? What is it called with the underwater earthquake? Tsunamis, volcanic eruptions. What's the other one where chemicals, like you said, sulfuric, acidic salt deposits coming out of the under oceans and such a possibility. Of course, you have like uh, unrealistic things, giant monsters and such, but there's enough realism from from sargosas of trash to sunken ships already down below that might be in a hard way. There are uh, um, terrible construction. Your group is sent down by a corporation that didn't spend enough money on their equipment. Maybe the place you're going to is very old. Maybe it's very new, and some of the mechanisms aren't useful yet. They're not connected together. They used a fly-by-wire new digital system that doesn't work because the old system was better or something, right? Uh, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I see you, Roka. Deadman says in Star Wars, the Wampa prefers its prey to be completely frozen before consumption. Right. See, now that's sure that's an in-world reasoning to save the life of a PC, but you're right. Yeah. Why'd the Wampa stick them up on the ceiling? Because they like icicles, really, really tasty and good icicles, right? Um, you lick them till you get to the juicy center, right? Zamara says I might buy it too, but I need a physical copy. I'm a physical copy person myself. I like PDFs because they're easy to reference, and I get to show them off to you guys like this. But I like it too. John Wright says smokers at the mid ocean ridges spewing hot and toxic subterranean chemicals. Hell yeah! Or w- listen, we know probably as much about deep space as we do our own oceans. So we don't know what kind of plants are down there that might grow around some old abandoned deep sea research station, and now the plants are like growing inside the hydroponics area, and they're growing on the outside of it, and maybe it crushed a one of the five external cabins or something that were attached to this deep research center, and the PCs need to get into the place before they get out. And again, like the 30-minute rule, it was talking about up here about each tank. Let's go back up to this, which there we go. Diving apparatus, 30 minutes per tank, right? Um, you could take this and stretch it out. Like you could say, hey guys, listen, the research center has like blast doors, and you know this already. And I would rather give player characters choices rather than hide it and surprise them. And I understand surprise is a great thing. We DMs love and game masters love to surprise our players, but honestly, giving players the choice, like, listen, those dead bodies, here's how they died. You know, this part of the research center, it's collapsed because yeah, the stuff you can literally see the plants growing. If you stare at it long enough, yeah, it's not like watching grass grow. You know these plants are going to crush this place. So you could set up 30 minutes per room. Like, oh, hey guys, you can explore this place, but I guarantee you on the outer edges of the research center, every 30 minutes, one of these rooms is going to get crushed and it's going to flood with water, and you're going to have to shut the doors down. Like, and let them know that up front. And now the PCs, it's in their hands. Okay, where do we go first? What were we down here for? We were supposed to get I'm just the MacGuffin, documents, hard drives, gold, the drugs from the drug dealer, right? Like the cultist tome that they found that's going to summon the elder god from the deep ocean or whatever, and the PCs need to run around and search for it. But also they're thinking like maybe a player character's like, okay, listen, how about we all stay in our suits and we all remain tanked up, because if the room floods and we still need to check out the room, we can go in there or go into it from the outside or blah 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 blah. um you guys remember the movie The Abyss? Remember the the need for the the actors in the movie to dive underwater in frigid cold to swim to another section of the deep sea oil rig or whatever it was, on the out, so they could swim on the outside to enter into another place. That in and of itself, the horror of that, like how many player characters are like, sure, I'll dive into the deep ocean by myself, barely protected with maybe a harpoon gun and one tank of 30 minutes of air to get to the other place, right? And could you imagine one of the player characters at the table is like, guys, hurry it up, 30 minutes, tick tick tick, it's 7:30, 8 o'clock, my tank runs out, and everyone's like, oh, sorry, I know we're talking amongst each other. Sorry about that. Yeah. Mm-mm. John Rice says mutated aquatic flora and fauna from leaking nuclear waste. Hell's yeah. I suppose the designer could have added something in there like that, like the um, a random table of reasons why something is something. But I don't know. I think there's enough. How do you explain this? Like the sorry that I'm pausing because my mind's going faster. Whatever the player characters, whatever your players pick for their skills, I would then structure the adventure around the skills that they picked. So, for example, basically character creation is world building even though they may not know it. So, let's go to the middle skill set here at expert plus 15 expert. So, let's say they start picking drilling, navigation, and spearfishing, right? So drilling. Okay, so we're going to do something that's subterranean or like something on the bottom of the ocean floor. It doesn't have to be ocean. It could be river or lake or something. But they're drilling for something. So let's have something within the earth. Maybe something volcanic or acidic or something like you mentioned. Oh, they also pick navigation. Navigation. So maybe they get lost. Oh, maybe they have to travel far away to get to the drilling locations. So I can throw in maybe some storms or ocean surge or something like that. Oh, they pick spearfishing. Spearfishing. Okay, so yeah, I'll have them. Maybe the not research center. Maybe the place that they are on. The PCs are able to run like on the surface of the structure, like the top of a boat or a submarine or oil rig that's floating above the water, and maybe they can use their weapons or something to shoot some tentacled horror that's down below them, right? Like use their skills that they've picked. If we go to the master skill level, things like cryptozoology or mechanical engineering or surgery or aquaculture, such as like breeding, raising, and harvesting fish, shellfish, and aquatic plants or something, you could definitely go into that. If one of the PCs is like, oh, what about you know nuclear energy or something, then I would definitely put in that as a reason why they're there. So yeah, skill, peep, um, backwards compatibility of letting the PCs make their character and then building the world around them is kind of cool. It actually makes in this it actually makes a good reason why they'd be there, right? Like I picked a skill I couldn't use. Well, there's a reason why you were there in the first place. So let's do that. Yeah, Zamara says there's enough fluff and tables to promote creativity in adventure design. I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, now, could you keep adding more and more like random tables to this, or could like let's go back to who the creation of this. Here we go. Written by Jeremy Childry. You can see all the editing, design, or graphic design, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, could there be an extra supplement to this? I think you could. I think some like how would you say like thematically attached. I would say the success of this would spawn whether there should be additional elements to it, right? Like maybe a bunch of here's some nuclear accidents, here's some um arcana, mystical, mythic horrors. Here are some real world political situations with like military and weaponry and things like that. Maybe there's something high tech with robots and AI that are in the deep sea. Here's a you know uncovering Atlantis, and here's a bunch of tables. And I think it could be easily done with those with these broad. Let me go back to it with the broad style tables. Sorry. I know I'm moving real quick. Um, with these compound tables, I think it could be done. You could just do instead of sea based generator, go um, uh, I don't know mythic horror generator and go description, size, purpose. Like what does it want? What is it? fearful of, where has it come from, weaknesses that the players could exploit, like you could just go along and then do another one, mutation, nuclear, genetic modification mutation generator, right? And then go, and make it a reskin table, like, uh, base creature, put down like shark, alligator, or something, and then some ways to modify it, like it has arms, it has legs, it looks humanoid, it has a thick shell, it is mutating, so it re-roll what it is like every 10 minutes of game time it mutates into another type of creature, it spews acid, it when looked at it is hypnotic or something, it causes additional stress or panic using the rules in the game or whatever, it causes one to hyperventilate or something like that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of space for that in this game. John Wright says a subsea drilling rig poking the head of a Lovecraftian sleeping eldritch horror. Ugh. or a sleeping Godzilla like kaiju. And of course the corporation's like, why'd you shut down drilling? And everyone's like, because our tanks aren't filling up with oil, they're filling up with like I don't know, eldritch goo. And the corporation, some one of the consultant PCs like, yeah, keep drilling, that's what we're looking for. We didn't want to tell you what that was. Just keep suckling on the forehead of a Cthulhu, right? So yeah, real simple, real cool, just like Mothership. This is designed very much in, again, in the manner of the OSR. A lot of information packed into a small section to let you go, oh, I know what to do with this. Um, just like these trinkets and tattoo tables. Even with the trinkets, they can come into effect. Like, I don't know, one of the player characters loses their trinket and they got to go back for it, and give them, the players, the opportunity to do the extremely stupid but very fun thing of having to swim back through the 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 flooding research center to get there. I don't know, what is this, VHS tape of videos for cats or something, or their white jiu-jitsu belt or something, right? Or their luchador mask, or the PC's like, I'm going to throw in my luchador mask, and everyone's like, why? It's like, because my uncle had it and I learned how to wrestle or something. I'm gonna go after, stop the shark before it goes after you guys. And everyone's like rolling their eye. Like any other role-playing game, they're like, why do we have to play with somebody that does the stupid thing, man? Egg. But in a horror style game, we all know that that's a trope, right? The person that goes back for the dumb thing, or maybe not so dumb. Remember, the Abyss, with the character that had the small rat that was his best friend, and he had him in his pocket or whatever. It had his little thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that may be a thing, right? And the PC goes back for it, and everyone's like, does the slow clap at the table, like, that is so cool. You get advantage for that. Why? Because you're playing your hell out of your character. Yeah, do that. All that kind of stuff. Even making fun of people, like maybe someone's got a whoopee cushion and they keep trying to stick it under other PCs while they're trying to be real serious. And the captain sits down with their cup of coffee, whoopee cushion goes off, and everyone has a nice cool laugh. And oh, hey, after every adventure, every PC gets a tattoo. We're all going to get tattoos, or maybe two tattoos. One would be a tattoo symbolizing the adventure itself, and then maybe another random tattoo to kind of like, yeah, I think my character kind of changed a little bit. They were scarred, and then they get a tattoo that kind of deals with their, that kind of symbolizes what they've learned from their personality or something. Like, my character's going to get a tattoo of an alligator wearing sunglasses. My it is my character was a coward, but I've seen everything. So yeah, I'm hardcore now. I'm gonna have an alligator wearing sunglasses, which for some reason I'm also picturing in a lounge chair on the beach with like a fruity drink with umbrellas in it. But anyway, um, yeah, surfing skeleton, person riding a manatee, a yellow submarine. Yep, yep. Fish scales. That sounds like something that you like. You you'd get a whole arm like with like fish scales just all the way down your arm or something like that. Heck, you could even, if you really wanted to, you could even add some like advantage to the player character, like, hey, you got fish scales in your arm. You're like, you know what? Or even pass them a private note and go, if you dive into the water, like no equipment, no nothing, just like a knife in your mouth, yeah, you might give you some inspiration on it. This doesn't specifically say inspiration, but maybe give somebody a little a little fist bump and go like, yeah, that'd be cool. So Mars says, Cthulhu juice, perfect for an unbalanced breakfast. Yeah, to get your morning started. Ah. Druden says, take all the goo you like, but don't touch the vibranium under the sea. Otherwise, you will have to deal with Namor or Namor. Ooh. Ooh. You could play it like that, especially if you combine it with Mothership, because you could do like if you didn't want to play this modern day, you wanted to play it a little bit like near future, where there are like androids and things like that. Combine the two together, and you have the fish race that we randomly rolled up earlier. Like the research center was taken over by fish people, and then you realize that they were literally people who went into the sea because there's something down there that has influenced the plants that they eat and survive off of, and they've been permanently changed, and they can breathe underwater now, and yeah. Anyway, Roll says unbalance is the way to go. Just don't shoehorn players into with no chance to avoid it. Exactly. Exactly. You don't want to. I love giving players choices, and especially in like a horror style game, because then it puts all the choices in their hands. Like, listen, you already know what's going to happen, and when I say know what's going to happen, maybe not mechanically, but if you're going to bother playing this, and you're going to go down into a deep sea research center and it's abandoned, you got to know there's like top five horrible things are going to happen. Um, it's going to get flooded. There's going to be something very dangerous inside of it or outside of it that we won't know what it is. One of us might turn paranoid and turn on the other. What are some other things? Power's going to go out. Air's going to air loss. Top five. There you go. Everyone knows those things are going to happen at some point, right? So, yeah. Yeah. And I like these little maybe you don't have to write a whole paragraph or a novel of fluff, but looking up quotes from different people I think is a really good way. White Wolf did this has done this plenty of times, if not universally in all their books, where they pick like song lyrics or poems or other kinds of quotes and such, and I like that. The sea is only the embodiment of a supernatural and wonderful existence. It is nothing but love and emotion. It is the living infinite. The globe began with the sea, so to speak, and who knows if it will not end with it. In it is supreme tranquility, or ultimate death. So, anyway, guys, that is a page through of Dive, again with the character sheet here. Pretty much tells you everything that you need to know. Gives you some descriptions. Let's change this into a single page and then blow this up. Bam, and then boom, boom, tells you about character creation on one page, and this is the character sheet before we get out of here. Name, pronouns, notes, conditions, swim tests, saves, such. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Even and even you really can't see it, it's kind of blurry, but even here under your trained and expert skills and such, that it tells you what your requirements are. So for marine biology, you need biology or ecology or fishing. So you need, let's say you go under trained, you pick fishing, now you can pick marine biology, and so on and so forth. Pretty self-explanatory without having the lines, the over a mothership, but it works exactly the same way. Health stresses, health per wound, phobias, equipment. Pretty simple. So, guys, thank you very much for allowing me to show this to you. And I like. I'll probably do that more often, not just with Future Friday, but I'll probably do this more often so that you get to see like maybe the game exactly isn't for you, but the way they designed it or it came across, maybe there's something we can learn from it. So yeah, there we go. You guys are always making more and more adventures. Zamar says, I just thought of a way of using tattoos as the level up system. An NPC or PC can tell more skilled PCs and NPCs by their tattoos. That's actually quite accurate and awesome, right? Like if the PCs meet an NPC, the proverbial special forces unit that shows up because the player characters are screwing everything up, and the special forces guy, they all, they're all hard nosed, they don't say anything, they're pushing their way through the PCs, and one of your player characters is like, I'm gonna get in a fist fight with the leader. He takes off his swimsuit and he's got like 6 tattoos down his arm, and the player character's like, maybe not. Right? Like that's a 6th level NPC, and we're just starting out. Maybe I don't want to challenge this guy, right, to a fist fight, or maybe I do because I want to get punched out. Right? Yeah, very very easy, very easy level up slash difficulty of opponent way to tell someone you might want to rethink what you're doing because of the difficulty without stating it outright. Although you could stretch that even further to like machines and monsters and mutants and things like, oh, that shark has a single scar on its left part of its, I don't nozzle or something, whereas the deep sea monster has, 6 harpoons sticking out of it before you even met it. Oh, six, one, two, three. Oh, it's a 6 level CR challenge creature. We might get killed by that. John Wright says a crashed alien vessel embedded in the ocean floor. Yeah, I'm looking at you. What's the movie? Sphere. Zamar says an animal can be presented to a player at the beginning of the game, and at the end, ask the players to describe what their PC most remembers from the encounter, assign a benign item or animal to it, then ask the players to describe how they merge the two things into a tattoo and write it on their character description. Okay. Like make up a tattoo that kind of describes like the small animal and the environment. Like okay, nuclear would be maybe like a frog with the nuclear warning tag on it. It's wearing a T-shirt that has a nuclear warning symbol on it. Or the PCs fought intelligent sharks, right? They're brilliant sharks, and they had to use like harpoon guns and stuff. So like they have a curling shark speared on a like a shrimp on a Barbie, but it's like a harpoon or something. That's really a cool idea, and it actually could tell you. It could tell you what the last adventure was too, even if they don't remember. Or a new person comes in and looks at their tattoos and like, why has everybody got like the nuclear warning tattoo on their forearm? Zamar says that way, when you see an NPC with a tattoo of a squid eating a skeleton, a dolphin playing a xylophone, and a cat half dead in the water, it brings up questions. What did you see before? Yeah, right. Yeah, scratching chin like I don't understand. Roku says, "Thanks for the stream, DJ. You actually sold me into this compliment. I'm buying it later. All right, that's cool. There it is. Will it show up? We're yeah, we're going to take us out on that one, Druden. Thanking Druden Fuzz taking us out on the nuclear symbol, right? So, guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. Don't thank me. Uh, thank the person who made this game, and the people who designed it. Wait a minute. Yeah. Okay, there we go. That's the beginning of the book and the classes. And there we go. Jeremy Childry and the rest of the staff that created the art and the cover art and all that kind of stuff. Thank them for this. I'm beginning to be a fan of these zine thing styled games. So we're going to take us out on that. So guys, thank you so much. Have a great Friday. We will return back to the Monday through Friday live streams and all that good stuff next week. So guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace. Or rather, don't drown.